Hi all. This is a video to help other people like me who've really struggled to beat the Annihilation boss Apocalypse. I've managed to do the previous Annihilation bosses okay with various builds, and even most of Apocalypse this run with other builds. But when it came to Annihilation, I just kept getting one shot by him. Certain pretty nasty attacks like the root grab, the fireballs, if you aren't able to kill them quickly enough, one shot you. There's a whole bunch of things about this fight that I don't like. Some people love it, I don't. And after literally probably 100 deaths, I decided to try something else, something different. So I went to found a video basically called an Indestructible turret build by a content creator called Jopa. I'll link his video down below. He'll explain a lot of the details around the build, so I won't go into a huge amount of detail here because I want you to look at his video, give him a like and subscribe to him. So essentially I took his build and I tweaked it a little bit. I found I was struggling with the speed at which my relics were being consumed, especially with the root grab attack. I found as soon as I was out of the root grab attack, I couldn't consume the next relic quickly enough and got one shot and died. So that's mostly what the tweaks are. Essentially, it's still the same build as him. So let me take you through what I've got. As I say, for the details of why, I think it's better to go to Jopa and his video. Okay, let's have a look quick. So essentially, it's the engineer build for the Vulcan turret. That's mostly what it is. It basically is an indestructible turret because of the surplus relic. When you use the relic, it refills 50% of your heavy weapon ammo, and essentially that's incredibly important because I need to keep that thing basically from dying. And I'll explain other things that kind of help there, but essentially it's engineer with Vulcan, and deploying the Vulcan just simple skills. So it's the skill, and then once it's up and running, you need to be behind it so that you see the interaction icon, and then you need to hold down the skill button to make it do the overclock, which is what we want in this build. The armor doesn't really matter because if you get hit wearing anything with Annihilation and Apocalypse, you're dead. The big items are the Bloodless Heart, and this is for both the shield and for the relic use speed, because you're going to be spamming this, right? This whole build is about spamming the Bloodless Heart. It gets quite tiring, I must be honest, but you're basically spamming it. So while you're spamming it, you don't get staggered, and you have a shield. So you're pretty much indestructible so long as you don't get caught by something, right? And you continue to do it. Remember, it's only 3 seconds, so if you miss that 3-second window, you're kind of screwed. That's why on my build, I also focused a bit more on relic use speed. In terms of the weapons, the idea is to be able to use the Sandstorm and the Death Brand here to add a bit of extra damage to the damage the turret's already doing as part of base damage. The reality is, I didn't end up using this much other than on the first go because I was just too busy spamming the Bloodless Heart. So at the beginning of a run, I'll maybe apply the Death Brand and the Sandstorm, but essentially I found that I didn't have time, and maybe other people will have more time, but I just didn't want to die. So I'm not an expert player, and please don't, in the comments, make it. It's. I'm saying it straight away, even though I've played and died to this particular boss on Apocalypse 100 times. I'm just not. I have no chance of getting that good that I can beat him without some help. So I'm saying it straight out. Okay. Obviously, the other archetype is the secondary one is medic. The reason I chose this over Explorer, which is what Jopa suggested, was the relic use speed, the benefactor at the bottom, which adds another 20% relic use, and a -1 on stagger, which helps me do that without getting knocked over. Essentially, and also the invigorated is quite nice. It's an extra 25% increase to all damage and 5% critical chance. So that's the reason I chose to use medic instead of Explorer. And I never actually used the skill at all. I'm essentially I'm going to not go into a huge amount of detail here on the rings and amulet, because I think Jopa does a better job of explaining this. But essentially, this takes you to 50% health, this whole build, and this amulet, when you're at 50% health, it reduces the likelihood you'll use a relic, which basically means that you have infinite relics. So you never have to worry about running out. You just have to spam. The burden on the destroyer is just for damage. And since you're not using range on a firearm, it doesn't matter if we lose 35%. The Crimson Dreamstone really helps with the skill damage, so that increases your turret damage. The Conservation Seal, this adds to the amulet, say, so essentially between the emergency switch and the Conservation Seal, if you're at 50% all the time, you pretty much will not use a relic. And to keep you at 50%, this is what the restriction cord is for. So that takes you to 50% and decreases your incoming damage. But that that part is not important. It's the restricting you to 50%. So that's the secret sauce to this build. In terms of traits, I took the ones that were useful to me. Obviously, Fortify and Triage are the ones that come with the archetypes by default. I wanted to be able to cast the turret as quickly as possible if it goes down. It doesn't often go down, but sometimes it does. And definitely when you switch to the second phase of the fight, the turret's not there, so you have to deploy the turret again. And as I say, that becomes a little complicated when it keeps in the second phase where it keeps switching. Potency really was not that important. Noise regrowth, spirit, it's useful if you get the chance to deploy it, to do the 2 mods for the 2 weapons, but I never really got a chance. Rugged's important because it gives health to the turret. I've got Siphoner and Leech for lifesteal, but the reality is that I don't use it. Chakra is useful for keeping the Sandstorm or the Death Brand alive a bit longer. The big one for me was, and why I spec'd actually into Glutton here, was to increase the use of my relics, the speed of the relics, by 35%, and mostly for the grab attack, to be honest. By the first phase, or the first phase part of this fight, endurance and vigor are not important in this fight at all. Just to show you the interesting bits here is the where is it now? Relic use speed is sitting at 105. So that's the main reason that I did this build. Cool. Let's go into the boss fight, and I'll explain as I go what I'm doing. Although it's kind of self-evident, but let's see if you can get some use from it. So I died to this boss literally 100 times, and in fact, even with this build, I died 4 or 5 times before this particular run. What I'm doing now is putting down the turret in a good place just before he spawns. Obviously, straight away I set it on to overclock. Then I set up my sandstorm, get it ready for sandstorm, set it off, and then start spamming straight away this heart. You notice as I consume it, I get a shield. See, the turret is destroying the orbs. I should be able to tank all the orbs, but it's good that the turret is taking them out. Makes me a little bit less nervous when that happens. I keep trying to point towards him so that I can see what's going on, but as you can see, I'm just spamming it. What I worry about here is he does 2 things when he jams into the ground. He either creates orbs or he gives me a root grab like this. And that's where I really worry, because sometimes if I don't consume the relic quick enough, I die post getting out of that root grab. So it's always something I'm very nervous about, and why I actually got up to 100% relic use speed was just to give me as much chance of consuming before I get nailed after the root grab. I try and move out of the way of anything that could blow up later. So I do move a little bit, I don't stay in the same place. Try not to get too far away from the turret though, in case it goes out of range of the boss. You'll see there, I tanked all the orbs. And for some reason the turret only targeted the boss and not the orb, so that can happen. So it's good to know that this build can also tank a bunch of orbs. Okay, so the first phase wasn't too long. I try and move forward because when the orbs come again in this phase, it actually pushes you backwards, and there's a lot more orbs. I'm trying to keep out of the way of, there's a particular attack that actually stops me being able to do the, consume the relics, so I try and move around a little bit. You'll notice I had to put the turret again. When you switch to this phase, it doesn't automatically bring the turret across. You have to put it down again. And sometimes I've noticed I've had to decommission the previous turret on the other phase to be able to put it down here, which is kind of weird, but I've noticed I've had to do that. You'll notice what's quite weird about this spamming this relic is that I just get tons of ammo all over me from the surplus perk. And yeah, you can see I'm literally just spamming everything. I'm able to pretty much tank. As I say, a bit of RNG is required. I mean, I have died a few times before this one, but not too many. And I think that the relic use speed has helped this. It's a nasty boss. I don't enjoy this boss fight at all. I think, especially the first phase is fine. I don't mind that. You get used to the movements and the attacks. But the second phase is just, there's so much going on. Some of it is just special effects. You don't actually see what the real attack is. It's really difficult to figure out what's going on, and I don't see why the devs would have done that. But anyway, it is what it is. This part obviously sucks because you can fall off the edge of the map here and die. So that's why I move forward with the orbs. They try and push you back. And I try to go forward now so I don't get into that same position. But as you can see, I'm still just tanking. Here's some more orbs. And I think, yeah, I still got attack 2. Turret doesn't always take out the orbs in time. Just another thing you'll notice is that I didn't use, aside from the first time I did the sandstorm or the death brand, I haven't used them at all after that. Because it's just, I don't want to take a chance of dying between relic uses, because you need to do a relic use, and then before the next sort of 2 seconds you have to do the other action, and then as quickly as possible do another one before the shield runs out. And I didn't feel like I wanted to take that chance, even if it means it takes a little bit longer to kill the boss. I didn't want to be in that sort of space, so I didn't do it. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird build. Your finger gets a little sore. Sometimes I would die also where, I just got my finger I don't know, I stopped pressing in time and I just died because the shield went. So it wasn't because it wasn't because I couldn't tank it, but I just didn't use the relic quick enough. And yeah, there's always a danger that on the root grab that you don't do it. That no matter what happens, you're not quick enough after the root grab from an animation point of view that you can use the relic and not get hit by a quick attack. So there is a bit of luck required. Obviously in this run, managed to think either 2 or 3 root grabs that I managed to survive. So it's not too bad. Obviously what I try and do is still just avoid by walking around the energy walls, pillars here in this one, and I stay out of the way of anything that's going to have a ground explosion. But as you can see, I managed to get the relic use in after the root grab. At this point, I'm just kind of further than I've been, and I'm just hoping I can get out of here without dying. Those orbs are kind of ominous, waiting for you when it transitions back. Hopefully I can tank it. That's what I'm thinking at this point. We're near the end, actually. I suppose there are times where there's a nice big gap where you can potentially, do a sandstorm or a death brand. I think for me, what I do in the gaps is, that's if you're going to do something, wait until there's a gap where he just sits there doing nothing. I think that happens after you kill all the energy orbs. I think he just sits around there doing nothing. And that's probably a good time to do something else if you want to. But as I say, I didn't want to take any chances. So that's really it. He's about to die. I just want to say thanks again for watching. This is really paying forward what I saw on Jopa. I've linked below in the text his thing. Please go view it. And yeah, have a good day.